everybody, welcome back to Her Impact. I'm Cassandra Hileos, and today we're gonna talk about a woman in science. And you know how much passionate I am about women's and especially women in science, and what they have given us in life and what they produce that actually lasts for a lifetime and even much more, many centuries after they have died. And one of those is pretty unknown, which I didn't know about her. I just happened to fall in a YouTube video about her life, and it was quite amazing because I became like a fan about her work. Is the botanical artist Maria Sibylla Merian, who died in 1717 and came to this world in 1647. So pretty many centuries. We're talking about centuries ago about her life. So this woman, Maria, was actually pretty known for her drawings that show the natural world of Suriname. And her two daughters support her, and they actually learn from her, and they done themselves some drawings. And the Beauty Museum has some of her work that you can actually visit them and see her magnificent art. But they all started from observing the world around her, and the insects and the leaves and the flowers that they just show nature around her. She just want to capture it, and she did very remarkable work, and that give the first sense of reporting and documenting for science. So natural science is actually very lucky to have her. And as I said, the British Museum, they have 2 large volumes of her watercolor illustrations of wildlife. So you can, if you are close by, you can visit it and just being stunned about how magnificent she could actually be, this woman, this artist. So let's start with her life story. So she was born in Frankfurt in a very successful print publisher family. She was the daughter of Matthias Merian the Elder and his second wife, Johanna. Her mother was a French-speaking Calvinist. It was a Protestant branch of Christianity back then, and has spread across Northern Europe, England, and Scotland. By 1626, her father had taken over the publishing firm, which was established by her grandfather of his first wife, so before Johanna. This family of artists, let's say topographic artists, were refugees from Antwerp, and when they settled in Frankfurt, they have reached international fame through the illustrated books of their Protestant voyages. So she comes from actually pretty famous back then family of artists. So it makes sense that she was also an artist herself. Actually they have the most famous one of her family is John White, which are American tribes to European audience. That's how they were introduced. they amaze readers by these watercolors of Spanish conquistadors' treatments of indigenous people, how they treat them, how they torture them, how they murder them. So art can be a form of informing people and educate them of what is going on in the world. And her family did that, and as Maria too. In 1633, her father, he did a contemporary event called Theatrum European. It's kind of topographical series of Central Europe. Both, so two works of these. These works are, there are many volumes. And after her father died, Maria was just 3. So, but still the business flourished under her half-brother, an artist who specialized in portrait. So every single member of her family was specialized in specific illustration type. Her ambitions she was really pretty ambitious from her early years. Because of the art and the business enterprise, they just feed her ambitions to find herself what she can do. She was obsessed with the origins and the development of insects from the age of 13. She was seeing what caterpillars for more than 50 years. She read it. Recording all stages of the metamorphosis of caterpillars, and she captured them on paper. So that was pretty important foundation for the development of entomology, the study of insects, and that's how Maria helped in developing the science that we know now. When her father died, her mother remarried a flower painter, Jacob Morel. So he was also influencing and stimulating her interest in the natural world. He helped develop a highly style of drawing in bright colors on vellum. And she herself married in 1665 one of her stepfather pupils, Johann Graf, and they moved to his native city, Nuremberg, where Johanna and Dorothea were born, her daughters. Here she published 3 volumes of a book containing traditional style flower engravings from 1675 to 1680. But her first scientific book on metamorphosis, called De Ruru Werberdern, my Germans are very bad, so I will read them in English. What was called this book? The Wondrous Transformation of Caterpillars and the Remarkable Diet of Flowers. It was published by her husband, and each of the volumes illustrated 50 engravings of caterpillars, butterflies, moths in their natural habitat. And the third part of it was published by her daughter Dorothea later on. So that's how she started with her husband. She continued when she left Germany, because she was not really happy in Nuremberg with her husband. She spent more time in Frankfurt with her mother after her stepfather died, and she separated from her husband in 1685. Both Maria and her mother they moved to the Netherlands afterwards with her daughters to join a Labadist community, a Protestant movement named after its French founder, Jean de la Baudière, a squatters' makla, which her half-brother already belonged. So that's why they moved afterwards in Netherlands. When after her mother died, she moved with her daughters to Amsterdam. It was back then the center world trade, and it was here that she found her true vocation and became associated with influential scientists of the city. There are two professors in Amsterdam that they helped her do that. It was Dr. Nicholas Whitson and Frederick Ruisch, which gave her access to their prized collection of specimens. So she wrote afterwards her Suriname book, In Holland I saw with wonderment the beautiful creatures brought back from the East and West Indies. And that's why she moved afterward to Suriname. For a short time, it started this community called La Providence, which included a sugar plantation in Suriname. This gave her the idea of traveling to the country to further her study in wildlife. So back then, men were doing these travels for sugar trade, and it was quite hazardous. It was very dangerous, let alone a 52-year-old woman traveling along with her daughter Dorothea. She made many expeditions along traveling to Suriname through the Atlantic of the wideness of the tropical interior of the country. She collected specimens, making drawings, and waiting for them to develop. These journeys were harsh, but it's clear that she relied on enslaved people to help her. One could find a great many things in the forest if it were possible, she wrote. It is so intensely overgrown with thistles and thorn bushes. I had to send my slave ahead with axe in hand to hack an opening for me to proceed even to a certain extent, which nevertheless was very difficult. So slaves were help her, which is not really nice to hear, but back then I'm guessing that it was pretty common for people to have slaves, which is pretty disappointing to hear at this stage for us women in science. Her work was quite peculiar for the people back then that saw her. She lists a number of interesting plants: cherries, vanilla, figs, and grapes that she believed could be cultivated back home in Netherlands. Then when she returned to Amsterdam in 1701 with sketches samples of the plants, dry insects, various amphibious and reptilian specimens, including a crocodile, preserving alcohol. That's where the outcome of that journey. She spent her remaining years in Amsterdam, focused on the finding of her Suriname publication with her own engravings and commentary, and the production of associated version of her watercolor compositions. And if you go to the British Museum, you find pretty many posters in her shop, but online you can see them. How beautiful her work, her art is. I mean, you can really see the details, and the colors are so vivid, and it's actually very strange how the amount of detail you can see. Her technique included to work in a studio. Then she makes sketches on the spot, and then she continues on her studio. So where she transforms sketches to compositions in bright colors, with watercolor, body color on large sheets of vellum. And that's why they can stand out if you see them. In 1705, the book she published on Metamorphosis of Suriname remained her most famous work. It's a beautiful and desirable book that can appeal you. It's so beautiful if you love art or insects. And her innovation of representing insects and seeing, a part of it's like taking photos in some of her art. I see now the toucan with red and yellow bill and black body that he's eating a small bird. So vivid if you see that one. And that's why her work is so important. Because when you see scientists, now they take photos, of course, they don't draw. Back then photographs were not really available so much. They didn't have iPhones or Androids back then. And that's why you understand the concept and how much importance you can find in these drawings and her work. And if you see them, they're so vivid. You can actually see so much details that a photo cannot give you even more, because she was so brilliant artist. So her last years, her work was of course admired by natural scientists of the period, including the founder of British Museum, Sir Hans Sloane, and that's why they have a lot of her drawings. They picture an album containing 60 drawings. And that's in 1706 he wrote to Dr. John Philip, a botanist, that the collection of the butterflies moths of Merian, painted on vellum beyond compare, recommendation about 200 guineas, which I consider is about 50,000 pounds today, English pounds. And that shows the respect they have for Merian. Towards the end of her life, she was in poor health. She had a stroke in 1715. However, after her death, Joanna, her daughter, who was still living in Suriname then, sent samples of Dorothea that she worked to her caterpillar book. This appeared just after Maria's death in Amsterdam in 1770 at the age of 69. Which she was pretty young, but I'm guessing back then 69 was too old in the 1770. And her legacy continues to be important. This is the foundation of science. She was the founder of science. And we don't recognize these women, that we find them not important. We don't know them. We are not taught in schools. And at the end of the day, women in science, we don't see them. We don't know about them. We know about Einstein and about so many men in science, but we don't know about the women. And we don't know anything about them, and that's unfair, and when it will change, I don't know. I have no idea, but I hope one day the children or our grandchildren will learn about Maria Sibylla Merian, her work, her art that changed in so much the science of insect. And that's at the end of this episode. Thank you for being with me with another story. life story of a true woman in science. And I'll see you next time with another intrigue science fact or story.